Hi, thank you very much, Sam Gardner. He is the Director of Enterprise Works from the University of York, UK. It's our pleasure to have you at Thessaloniki Innovation Zone. The question that I have from you, it's the challenge that we have worldwide. What actually we notice, as we travel, difficulty in collaboration between industry and academic research centers. What are your suggestions to enhance the collaboration between these two communities?
Yeah, thanks, Panos. It's a really interesting question, actually, and it's one that I know universities across the world are wrestling with. I think you've got to look, first of all, at the purpose of the two groups here. We ask researchers to understand a problem, and that's where I think research is best deployed. The question here is how you define that problem and how those two groups can work together to understand the parameters of that problem. Now that's where the business community are really important here, because they're the people who are looking for solutions. And so I think there has to be an understanding in both directions about the approaches of each individual partner here. And I think what often happens is researchers look at business as people as directing what's happened here, and businesses look at researchers as sort of not solving their problems. And I think you need to think a little bit more broadly about the purposes of each groups here, because if a company comes to us with a sort of broad approach and brings an issue, we're really good at understanding it, at explaining and sort of providing the supporting activity around that in order to give them the best possible solution. Now, I think the other thing that's really important to say here is there's a tendency for there to be quite a focus on a single solution. That might work in a business context, but you have to think very carefully about how that's going to be deployed, maybe in a social context or in a sort of broader ecosystem context. So it's really important to understand the whole system here. We talk a lot about ecosystems. I know there's a variety of terminologies, but the idea is that if a company has an issue that they're looking for support with, it might not just be the company.
What is the definition about ecosystem?
Yeah, you have another 20 minutes, yes, okay. What I think of in terms of an ecosystem is all of the stakeholders that have an involvement in part of that solution. So, for example, for a startup, it might be the startup themselves, it might be their client groups, it might be the business support people. You can also consider maybe the professional services associated with startups in that region. When you talk to universities and businesses, that gets much more complex, because you have local business support, you have the sort of policies in the region, you have the stakeholders within the companies, you have the individuals within the companies. And I think understanding all of the drivers and all of the interrelationships there is really important, because if you just have one solution to this problem and you provide this as a sort of linear scenario, what tends to happen is external factors affect the outcomes of the projects. And so understanding that sort of holistic solution, I think, is really important.